friends, this is Dishant Gautam, Associate Professor from the Department of Pharmacology. Today we will continue your second unit, Pharmacology of Drugs Acting on Cardiovascular System. In this unit, we will continue the second chapter, Hematinics, in which we will study in detail about the hematinics and its clinical significance, type of anemia, and the use of the hematinics. So, after the study of iron as a hematinics, let us discuss about the adjuvants to the iron therapy to treat the anemia. The main important ingredient of the hematinic is the vitamin B12, considered as an extrinsic factor. So let us go with its history. In 1820, Combe and Addison described the megaloblastic anemia. Afterwards, in 1816, Austin Flint described in a certain patient with the treatment failure with the iron, found it was related with atrophy of the gastric mucosal cell. Then, in 1926, Maynard and Murphy received the Nobel Prize to demonstrate correlation of the pernicious anemia by feeding liver. Then, in 1929, Castell extrinsic factor in diet and intrinsic factor in parietal cell, both important of the hemopoietic effect. Vitamin B12 is isolated in 1948 and the Dorothy Hodgkin determined the structure of vitamin B12 and received the Nobel Prize for this work. So, here we conclude that in addition to the iron supplements and the iron as a hematinic preparations, some natural source of vitamin B12 is also necessary, or if it is not being fulfilled, then the combination of the iron preparation must be with the vitamin B12. So here I summarize some natural sources of vitamin B12. They are the carrot, papaya, meat, egg and cheese, fish, broccoli, mango, sweet potato, squash, apricot, peaches, melon, and the peppers. Now, let us discuss about the specifications of the vitamin B12. The first one is the structure of the vitamin B12. A porphyrin ring-like structure with the cobaltine center with a various organic group attached by the covalent bond. And the cogenesis of the vitamin B12 are the cyanocobalamin and hydroxycobalamin, which are therapeutically we are using. And in addition to that, methylcobalamin and deoxyadenosylcobalamin is also there. Now, the source and the requirement of the vitamin B12 are: it is synthesized by the normal gut flora in human beings. The dietary source are the non-veg. But what happens in some leguminous plants, milk and milk products also have the rich source for the vitamin B12. Requirement of B12 is 2 to 3 microgram in normal adult and 1 to 3 microgram in pregnancy, and in lactation it is 3 to 5 microgram. Vitamin B12 plus intrinsic factor absorbed in the terminal lumen, and the deficiency of vitamin B12 is responsible for megaloblastic anemia and subacute combined degeneration of the cord. Now, let us discuss about the pharmacokinetics of the vitamin B12. The vitamin B12 from the dietary source and from the protein get both combined and in an acidic climate get combined with the intrinsic factor of Castell, that is the glycoprotein. What happens? The extrinsic factor and the intrinsic factor both get combined with that of the receptor at the gastric mucosal cell, and then it get absorbed from the carrier mediated active transport system of the body. If high dose consumed transported by beta globulin to the various tissue, excess get transported to the liver for the storage for the future use. If any deficiency and requirement is there, it is utilized from this storage. It undergoes enterohepatic circulation affected in presence of the malabsorption worsen if deficiency present. The storage is the total amount gets stored in the body 3 to 5 gram lasts for the 3 to 5 years. Then after the pharmacokinetic, let us discuss about the metabolic functions of vitamin B12. It is essential for the conservation of the homocysteine. Here what happens? The vitamin B12 convert the homocysteine to the methionine. One, the carbon transferring group, that is the methyl tetrahydrofolate, gives one carbon atom and get converted into the tetrahydrofolate in presence of the vitamin B12 so that it converted into the methyl B12. This methyl B12 helps in the conversion of the homocysteine to the methionine. So here the main role of vitamin B12 is the conversion of the homocysteine to the methionine by the transfer of one carbon. Second metabolic function is the purine and pyrimidine synthesis, which is affected primarily due to defective one carbon transfer because of the folate trap. We will discuss later about the folate trap. Then the third metabolic function is isomerization of methyl malonyl coenzyme A to the succinyl coenzyme A. Let us summarize this metabolic function as the methylation occurs simultaneously using the homocysteine methionine methyl transferase as the methyl tetrahydrofolate. It is a methyl donor which converted into the tetrahydrofolate in presence of the cobalamin, whereas the cobalamin helps in the conversion of homocysteine to the methionine by the one carbon transfer reaction. In this reaction, what happens? The inactive methyl tetrahydrofolic acid is converted into the active tetrahydrofolic acid. At the same time, the homocysteine converted to the methionine. But in case of deficiency, it prevents activation of methyl tetrahydrofolate, that is called as the methyl folate trap. In short, the vitamin B12 is responsible for the following metabolic functions. Number one, it is responsible for the conversion of homocysteine to methionine, and methionine is needed as a methyl group donor in many metabolic reactions and protein synthesis. The another metabolic function of vitamin B12 is the purine and pyrimidine synthesis, that is affected by one carbon transfer. The another is the conversion of malonic acid to the succinic acid. It is important step in propionic acid metabolism and links carbohydrate metabolism with lipid metabolism. Here what happens? The malonic acid in presence of deoxyadenosyl cobalamin get converted into the succinic acid. Another is the conversion of methionine to S-adenosyl methionine is needed in a synthesis of phospholipid and myelin. In this, what happens? The methionine in presence of deoxyadenosyl cobalamin get is responsible for the formation of S-adenosyl methionine. And the last is it is essential for the cell growth and the multiplication. After the metabolic functions, let us discuss about the utilization of vitamin B12. As we already discussed, it is very essential for the growth and development through the purine and pyrimidine synthesis, and it is essential for the protein synthesis. Vitamin B12 is present in food as a protein conjugate and is released by cooking or by proteolysis in stomach, facilitated by the gastric acid. Vitamin B12 is transported in blood in combination with a specific beta globulin transcobalamin 2, and the vitamin B12 is not degraded in the body. It is excreted mainly in bile, that is 3 to 7 microgram per day. Now come to the important fact, that is the deficiency of vitamin B12, which occurs due to the adenosine pernicious anemia. It's an autoimmune disorder which results in the destruction of gastric parietal cell, absence of intrinsic factor in gastric juice is responsible for achlorhydria, is responsible for inability to absorb the vitamin B12. Other causes are the gastric mucosal damage is the chronic gastritis, gastric carcinoma and gastrectomy. The malabsorption is the another important fact which due to the damage of intestinal mucosa, bowel resection and inflammatory bowel disease is responsible for the malabsorption. Consumption of vitamin B12 by the abnormal flora in the intestine is the another fact. It is maybe due to the fish tapeworm, also called as the blind loop syndrome. Another is the nutritional deficiency, which is less common cause and mainly it occur in the strict vegetarians. Come to the therapeutic use of the vitamin B12. It is used to treat the pernicious anemia by the oral B12 preparations and parenteral B12 preparations. The dose of B12 initially 100 microgram to 1000 microgram intramuscular daily or alternate days for 1 to 2 weeks to replenish the body store. As a maintenance therapy without neurological manifestation, 100 microgram to 1000 microgram once a month for lifetime. If any patient having the neurological manifestation, then once a week or once every 2 weeks for 6 months, followed by once month lifelong. And the last, it is used in case of the megaloblastic anemia to treat the megaloblastic anemia. The dose parenterally given either intramuscular or subcutaneous 100 to 1000 microgram of cyanocobalamin is given. So till that, have a nice day. We will continue part 5 of the same topic. Thank you.